So, Arielle, today we're going to talk a little bit about your experience with the Root to Rise Young Women's Leadership Program. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what your role is with that program?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Arielle Lawrence. I'm currently a junior at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. I'm a political science and history major. I have a lot on my plate, but that's okay. It keeps me busy. I have minors in global peace and security and public law. I'm part of our K-Lot program, so that means I have a guaranteed spot in the UNL College of Law if I get a high enough LSAT score. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've been involved with Snow-Redfern for going on 3 years, I think. I was originally a part of the Root to Rise cohort, the second one, I believe, and I absolutely loved it. I am in love with Sarah, Maya, and the whole Snow-Redfern team. I absolutely adore them. Um, I highly recommend if you ever have the chance to be involved with Snow-Redfern, take them up on it because you won't have anything that goes wrong, I promise. I am involved in that aspect of the review process and being a reviewer along with a lot of other inspirational and talented women. Miss Maya is one of ours, and then we have Macy, which is one of our other ones. And I am one of the youth coordinators for Snow-Redfern. So I help with scholarship reviews, scholarship processes, sitting on some of the boards to make sure that everything's going good. And we're having some youth correlation as well. So that is nice. That is one great thing that Snow-Redfern does. And I absolutely appreciate that.
Oh, that's so sweet of you to say. Well, we appreciate having you. You have been a blessing to this organization.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, Ariel, from your perspective, because our review process has changed a little bit in the last 2 years, and we're trying to be more intentional about involving young people in the review process and having some really great conversations as part of that. So I'm curious to hear from your perspective what the review for the Root to Rise program looked like this year and who was involved in that, and just a little bit of explanation of how that process works.
Yeah, so this year we had two young ladies join us that were in the prior cohort. So it was Loretta and Ethita, and I absolutely love working with them. They are younger than me, which is nice. I'm kind of out of the loop on things too because they just graduated high school. So it was nice to have their input on everything and to make sure that we're keeping it fresh and having fresh eyes on paperwork because people's ideas change and everything like that. So when I was in high school almost 3 years ago now, it makes sense to have fresh eyes. So having Ethita and Loretta were just amazing. I absolutely loved it. They had amazing ideas and even ideas to make sure that we keep the essays in check and making sure that everyone has good answers, but also shows their personality through them. So that's nice also. One of our other reviewers is Maya. She works with us a lot and she is one of the main facilitators for the Root to Rise program. She was the facilitator when I was going through the program, and I have began to absolutely love her. Not that I didn't love her at the beginning, but knowing her more and seeing how she works, she's just awesome. And to be able to work with her in that space is really nice.
She's pretty amazing. I agree.
Yes, yes, she is.
And I love that it was a combination of reviewers. So new Root to Rise, so they just graduated last year, and you were in Root to Rise a few years ago, so that's fun.
Yes,
Um,
agree.
Ariel, would you tell us a little bit about some of the conversations that you had around applicants this year? And Maya had pointed out that there were some great discussions about how we're considering bias as part of our review process. Would you share a little bit about that?
Yes. So I absolutely loved all of the applications this year and last year. I have been involved with that process for about 2 years, so that's really nice. Um, we had great applicants. All of them demonstrated all of their personality that they could, and we wish that we could pick every single one, but we can't, unfortunately. But I am just very happy that all of those young ladies stepped out of their comfort zone to tell us very things that maybe aren't comfortable sharing like face to face, but paper, it was amazing to hear what they have to say. So our process starts with getting our reviewers together to make sure that we all know the rules, the regulations that we have to follow, and to make sure that if we know someone or even have an inclination that we know someone, that's where the bias factor comes in. And we need to make sure that we tell our facilitators, Maya or I, or even if we have Macy sitting on as well, to make sure that we let them know what is going on, why we think it's a bias, and to say, hey, I just want some fresh eyes on this. I want to make sure I'm not being a burden to this person in case they do or do not get this scholarship. So I really love that fact. And Loretta and Ethita made sure that they had that under wraps too, so they were good. They let us know if they had a problem with it that they wanted us to see it too, so they weren't being biased. We've had issues with that also with scholarship reviews, but it's nice to make sure that you have other eyes on it. So our process then goes to making sure that each reviewer gets a certain amount of scholarships to review, or applications for Root to Rise. So they make sure that the numbers that they have, so it would be like the first and last name, the first initials, and then a number. So we make sure that we keep their name anonymous, and so we don't know exactly who they are. So we know what town, but we don't know who, just to make sure that we have representation from all across Nebraska and that it's not just in one part or area. So that was really nice. We had I had 4 applications, Maya had 4, and then Ethita and Loretta each had 3 or 2. So to make sure that we have eyes on all of them and to make sure that we're each giving them the time and energy that they deserve. I would say it took me about 1 to 2 hours to make sure that I had everything that I needed. Sometimes it might take me a little less time just because I connect with them so easily, and so that makes it really nice to make sure that I know what I'm doing and I know that they would be a great fit for the program. So I love that. And it's also nice to have young women that have gone through the program and they know the process. So to make sure that the group that we are selecting would fit well together. So that's when we go to our final piece of the process where we all meet together again in one group and we review all of the scholarships, all of the applications, and to make sure that we're not being biased in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and speaking of bias, this year was the first time we had created an opportunity for young women to submit a video application. And it sounds like you
Yes.
guys had some interesting conversation about that and specifically related to bias.
Yes.
Would you like to share about that?
Yeah, of course. So we had a young lady from Western Nebraska submit a video, and it was absolutely amazing. I absolutely love listening to her and connecting with her that way. It was hard because having a video, you have to see their face, you know their name, and you can hear their tone in their voice when they're talking about the questions. So you can tell if they're not really into it or if they have a lot of care, they put their personality into it. You can connect with them easier rather than on paper. So it was really hard. We're having a stump right now to figure out where we want to go with it next. I know Maya and I talked about blacking out their face or having like their voice change, like FBI style, but I know we can't do that because it's very pricey and it just becomes a pain and a hassle. So we're trying to figure out how we want to incorporate that because we love having the videos and seeing the young ladies and their personality shine through is one of the top-notch things that I love to see, but it's definitely really hard to black out their face and hide their identity and keep it anonymous. But
Right.
yeah, so we've
And
had an issue with that.
so when you saw their voice and could hear their video application, it sounds like it's easier to connect to them. So that would make it easier to select them over somebody that maybe just had an application video. Was that part of your conversation too?
Yes, that was a big part of our process and a part of the conversation that we had to make sure that we have the application correct and for future what we want to do for the next cohort too.
Yeah, I love that. So, how do you think that experiences like this help young people? And how do you think it helps organizations like ours by including young people in these processes?
Yeah, so I absolutely love how we incorporate young people into everything we do and how Sarah and Maya are very into what we are doing and they never turn us down on what we want to do, even if it is outrageous, but we love it and we sit there and we talk about it and we make sure that everything is aligned with what Snow-Redfern is and what we do. So having young people involved in the process is one of the most astonishing things that could have happened to an organization. And I believe that a lot of organizations should also put that into their everyday life of just thinking about what future generations are going to do and how that is implemented throughout their community. I know a lot of generations have a huge gap between them, especially in workplaces. And that unfortunately, discrimination does come in through age gaps as well. So you can see that through a lot of corporations and a lot of federal corporations as well for what is going on. Um, Being raised by my grandparents, it was hard for me because I had such a huge age gap between them. And so I was raised in my head in an older generation. And that made me think more of wanting young people involved in different organizations and having their foot in the door and hearing their voice and hearing what they have to say and just making sure that we are hearing them out because it is so hard to seek young people out to make sure that, hey, do you like what's going on in your community? Do you feel included? Why don't you feel included? And different leadership opportunities that they are doing as well.
Do you think that there is a difference between organizations that involve youth voice and decisions that impact youth and those and organizations that don't? Do you think that has an impact?
I can definitely see it having an impact. I haven't seen it firsthand, but through Snow-Redfern, it's making me more aware of that and seeing that throughout different organizations throughout Nebraska. I really appreciate what Snow-Redfern does because of the fact that young people have such a hard time getting through to older generations just because maybe some older generations think, oh, they're just kids. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what's going on. They only see it through this perspective. But they really don't because you don't interact with young people the way young people interact with other young people. And that's another reason why in Hemmingford, before I left, I created a student board representative position on our huge board that we have for the school district. And I wanted young people to have a spot and to make sure that their voice is being heard at board, like the education boards, whenever we meet. And I just wanted that position from the very get go. I said, I'm going to do this. I want young people wherever they are to make sure that they are being heard. So having that position in Hemmingford definitely, I feel like has made an impact because young people are now being taken into consideration and their views and perspectives are being put on the plate. So I truly appreciate that. And I know a lot of younger generations also appreciate that.
And I appreciate that too from you because I see one of your personal values as lifting others up. So, and you do that through this work too. I'm curious from your perspective, what impact you think it makes on young people that are involved in decision-making processes with, well, for instance, with Snow Redfern. Do you think that changes anything for them?
Yes, I definitely do. I feel like giving them more of a part in these talks and conversations gives them a self-confidence boost that other things maybe can't. I truly appreciate that because when I first came into this role, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to be awful at this. I don't know how to talk to young people. Like, I just kind of yap and I just go with it. But I really appreciate how Sarah and Maya put us into those situations and they make us grow. And that's what I appreciate the most. And a lot of young people, especially when we go to grant making projects in Box Butte County, seeing those young people interact with each other, whether you're from Shadron, Alliance, Hemmingford, Scottsbluff, wherever, you are interacting with people the same age as you, going through the same issues in high school, dealing with the same problems every day. And I couldn't express more how amazing that is to see people grow in the positions that they are meant to grow in.
That just gave me goosebumps. I believe that too. I believe it too. And seeing you at it firsthand, working with other young people, I think the first time that I saw our participatory grant making work well was in Box Butte County when you were helping to facilitate that conversation with that group of our Box Butte County youth grant makers, and they related to you and you to them, and it was just a smoother conversation about why is it important for young people to be at the table to make decisions, because these are things that impact them directly. So I think it helped them, it hit home when you were able to share it from your experience. So I think that was wonderful.
Thank you.
So from this experience, is there anything that you feel like you took away from it or you learned, whether it be something personal or within a leadership capacity?
Yeah, so especially through Root to Rise, it made me think outside of the box. I definitely came from a very Christian family and everything was very like to the to the script, everything needs to be done. And it made me think, some people may not have that. Some people may think that differently. And it makes me think outside of my comfort zone and to make sure that I'm including everyone in my conversation and not just specific people. And I take that in my everyday life. I interned in DC, so I took that into my perspective when I was hearing out people and they were calling me with their concerns, and it just made me feel more deeply with what they were saying and to settle on that. And I could not appreciate that more. And I have grown with self-confidence, like I said earlier, and I want young people to feel that every day, not just when an older generation is hearing them out or putting their plans on the map and ideas. I want them to truly look at them and be like, you know what? I want you in my business now because I love what you're doing and I love how you're talking and I just want you in every position. And that just warms my heart because no matter how old you are, I don't feel like you should be discriminated against for what you believe in or where you come from. And I truly love that. And that is one of the main things that I've taken away.
I love that so much. And I see you growing every day too, which by the way, you're already extremely skilled and talented at this work. So to see you grow is even more exciting. So, and you just have the heart for this. It's been beautiful to watch you be involved in it. So I
Thank
appreciate
you, Miss
it so
Sarah.
much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up today?
Well, I just want to say to anyone who's watching, I truly appreciate you watching and to follow along with Snow-Redfern in our journey. It is absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to see what Snow-Redfern has in store, and I can't wait for anyone else to see it too, because it's going to be great. Everyone's in great hands with Sarah and Maya and the rest of the board and administration. So keep on the lookout. It's going to be great.
And I was thinking they should be keeping on the lookout for you and all the cool things that you're going to do in your career because you're only 20. Just think of all the things you have left to do in your beautiful life.
Yeah, it's going to be a long road, so keep in touch.
That's right. We'll be here to cheer you on.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for chatting today. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Thank you.